Good afternoon. I'm Mike Lemus. I'm the 2020 Sustainable Tulsa Board President. And on behalf of the board and staff of Sustainable Tulsa, I'd like to welcome you to our first Thursday event for this August. Megan Hurley reminds me that the Sustainable Tulsa website contains updates on the COVID-19 response that Sustainable Tulsa has taken. And we look forward to a time at some point we'll get back together in person. But until then, you can go to the website, check for updates. We're working hard to keep you posted on events as they occur, affect our operation through social media. We also continue to offer the first Thursday event as a virtual event, Scorecard Workdays as a virtual event, and our new OK Green Living pages. Check those out if you haven't had a chance to get to them. We've also launched a Lunch and Learn series. Get more information from Megan and or Sarah Hicks about that. Special thanks goes out to American Waste Control, Covanta, Grog's Green Barn, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Aerosystems, TCC's McKeon Center for Creativity, PSO and PSO Wind Choice for sponsoring today's program. Thanks to Sustainable Board members who are in attendance today. Rick Katarski, Matt Newman, Stephanie Cameron, Connor Carroll, Aaron Larder, Kerry Rowland, Mike Teague, and James Williams. Also, special thanks, heartfelt thanks, I think, to Sarah Hicks, Jill Maud, and especially Megan today for her great work on this event. I'd now like to turn it over to Megan, who will update you on what's happening in our digital booths. Megan.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much. Welcome, guys. So we're going to start off with our digital booths. Sarah, if you can go to our next, I think 2 slides over. All right, we have PSO and PSO Wind Choice up first. Tracy, I see you've joined us. Do you have a quick update? Tracy, are you there? Maybe not. Okay, that's okay. I will give a quick update. So if you are familiar with PSO, perhaps you are not familiar with PSO Wind Choice. It's a fantastic program. Tracy Harper, who's on this call today, she will be able to answer any questions you may have about it. In fact, we have a really special tie-in with them for our upcoming recharge event. So we'll give you more information in an email that'll go out next week. So be on the lookout for that. Sarah, if you can go to the next slide. We have our American Waste Control. Jessica, are you on the call with us?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Hey.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm Jessica with American Waste Control, and we are a local business here in Tulsa, and we serve the Northeast Oklahoma area. We have single stream recycling programs in a lot of the smaller areas that allow people to recycle their home recyclables. We also have a waste to energy landfill where we convert the methane gas to electricity for about 5,000 homes in Osage County. We also recently started wood recycling in the Tulsa area, which allows people to get rid of stuff like pallets and wood, and instead of it being wasted, it gets turned into mulch and all kinds of stuff. So if you have any questions about that, we have lots of solutions from small businesses to large businesses, so you can just reach out to us. Amanda's contact information is down there at the bottom, and we also have our website that you can go on and find out more about us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right. And then we have the Met. Allie, are you available to share with us?
Yes, I am. So we're just pretty much still talking up our recyclethistulsa.com. That's our online directory where you can type in anything that you want to recycle, and it will give you all the different options in and around Tulsa where you can recycle. We, of course, have composteverything.net that has a lot of good updates on composting for this time of year. And our intern Bailey is posting a lot of great social media up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then, of course, all our depots are still open. So bring your recyclables by.
Perfect. I think this next slide shows your new location over at 21st in Garnett area. Perfect. All right, and then the next slide, we have Save Our Streams. Dustin was not able to join us today, but this is a City of Tulsa's program. So if you go to the cityoftulsa.org's website, you can learn more about Save Our Streams. Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. I think that is it. Perfect. Okay. So as Mike mentioned earlier, we have some new pages on our website, and they're all under our new kind of endeavor called Oklahoma Green Living. These pages contain helpful information and resources to help you become more sustainable. And we'll be posting periodically new updates. In fact, we'll have a big update coming up next week, including videos from sustainability experts. So you can check that out at sustainabletulsainc.org/Oklahoma or OK Green Living. So sustainabletulsainc.org/OK Green Living. And part of what makes Oklahoma Green Living really amazing for us is now more than ever, we are in need of your support. Any donation actually makes a difference. In fact, with a donation of only $25, you can be listed as a supporter of our Oklahoma Green Living pages. I'd love to see this list grow as long as possible. It shows Tulsa what our members are, how important sustainability is to our members. So if you're interested, please go to, again, sustainabletulsainc.org/OK Green Living and become a donor. Our scorecard final event is coming up. It's actually at the end of this month. It'll be held as a virtual event this year on Thursday, August 27th from 8 to 10 a.m. And we'll be sending out an email later today so to get your formal invite. So please stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about scorecard, please ask Sarah, who is awesome in running our slideshow for us today. And then our third annual fundraiser, Recharge, will be held on Thursday, September 10th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. So it's just a little more than a month away. Again, this event will be a virtual event this year, but it'll be a fun evening celebrating Sustainable Tulsa. And at the end of today's event, we'll have a giveaway for a pair of tickets to Recharge. So if you're looking for a way to help support Sustainable Tulsa, this is another way. You can purchase a ticket to the event. We'll also have a silent auction available a week before the event that'll be open to everyone, even if you're not participating in the event. So there are many ways that you can support us. And if you want more information, please contact me. You can either message me in the chat or you can send me an email at megan@sustainabletulsainc.org. All right, I'd like to introduce today's moderator. Adrienne Janes is the Alternative Fuels Planner at INCOG, where she works to prepare the Tulsa region and the state for emerging on-road transportation technologies with an emphasis in transportation electrification. In this role, she also serves as coordinator for Tulsa Area Clean Cities Coalition, a U.S. Department of Energy program hosted at INCOG. She is a founding member and serves on the executive committee of the Oklahoma Electric Vehicle Coalition, which brings together utilities, state and local government, businesses, and car manufacturers to plan for increased use of electric vehicles in Oklahoma. Please help me welcome Adrienne.
Thanks so much, Megan. And I am so excited to introduce the rest of our panelists today. If you've been around Sustainable Tulsa for a while, you've heard me talking about electric vehicles and all the exciting things happening there. But there's so much more happening in sustainable transportation in Tulsa and around the state. So I'm so excited to bring some of my friends and colleagues today to talk about the exciting work that they're doing. So first, we've got Jane Ziegler, who works with me at INCOG as a transportation planner, and more specifically as the bike pedestrian coordinator for the Tulsa region. Jane sees walking, biking, and micromobility as key components of the transportation system and believes these are transportation solutions for short trips. Jane is passionate about creating a safer and friendlier environment for pedestrians and people and bikes. She enjoys coordinating and collaborating with community stakeholders, which includes This Machine, among others, to change the car culture of Tulsa and rethink the use of the public right-of-way for all forms of transportation. Then we also have Eric Pollard. Eric Pollard is in Oklahoma City. He is the Air Quality and Clean Cities Coordinator at the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, or ACOG. Since joining ACOG, he and the stakeholders that work with him have celebrated several milestones, including 2019 fuel savings of more than 14 million gallons and reductions of fuel savings of more than 14 gallons of gasoline and reduction of over 19,000 tons of greenhouse gases in central and western Oklahoma. Eric is a former Sustainable Tulsa board member from 2014 and is very excited to be back and see the growth of the organization, especially with the scorecard program. And last but not least, we've got Katie Swawicki from This Machine. Katie is a lifelong enthusiast of physical activity and enjoys swimming and cycling regularly. As a resident of Tulsa for the past 7 years, Katie has worked in development and programming for health-focused nonprofits for much of that time. As executive director of This Machine, Katie focuses her time on improving access to alternative bicycle transportation and ensuring that This Machine offers a quality service. She lives in Midtown with her boyfriend and their 2 dachshunds. So thank you all for joining us today. Before we get into all the presentations, our friends at Sustainable Tulsa have asked me to give you just a really brief update of what's going on with electric vehicles in Tulsa and around the state. So I'm going to give a super short version of part of what I've presented in past years if you've been around. But anyway, okay, thank you, Megan. So before we jump into that, we have a quick poll question. We'll have several polls throughout the presentation today. So before we get into it, how do you think Oklahoma ranks compared to other states regarding EV charging? Are we 49th? Are we somewhere in the middle? Are we top 10? Are we number 1? So we'll give you all a second to vote and then we'll see. So Megan, just let me know what's next.
We've got 40 of the 51. We'll give them another 15 seconds.
All right, thanks.
Vote, vote, vote. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. There we go.
All right, so we've got 18% thinking we're 49th, 36% thinking we're somewhere in the middle, 31% thinking top 10, and 16% saying we're number 1. So let's see. Oh, can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, sorry, next one. Oh wait, I'm all out of order on my slides here. Anyway, go to the map. We'll go to the map first. Sorry. So I've come for several years in a row to Sustainable Tulsa to talk about electric vehicles, and I've always said we've got all these plans coming. You know, the exciting things are on the horizon. Well, I'm excited to tell you that now the exciting things are here. So this is a map of all of the fast charging electric vehicle stations in the state, not even all of the stations, just the fast ones. And so the correct answer, depending on how you slice and dice the numbers, is either, it was kind of a trick question. It's either we're number 1 or we're in the top 10. So by some metrics, if you count per capita charging stations, we're number 1. So we are actually leading on a really good metric. And if you just go with overall the network, taking per capita out of it, we're actually number 3 in EV charging. And so I am very excited to tell you today that you can drive an electric car almost anywhere in Oklahoma. There's a few gaps and we're working to fill them this year, but this is the map of charging stations in Oklahoma. And we are very proud that as of about April this year to be number 1 or number 3 in EV charging. And there hasn't been a lot of publicity around it because a lot of other stuff was going on in April, you might recall. So we haven't really had a moment to publicize this exciting work, but it's happening and it's very exciting. So Sarah, if you could go to the next slide. So the other thing about electric vehicle charging is we don't think of charging like we do like a gas station. There are 3 places where people charge. So what you just saw is the statewide network. That's really for road trips and on days where you have just a lot of driving to do, you will use that network, and it's a great network. We're really excited about it. But what you will find if you drive an electric car is about 80 to 90% of the charging that you do just is in your driveway or in your home or apartment or condo. If you have an electrical outlet, you can access there. And so that's the easiest and cheapest, most convenient way is to just charge at home. We're also starting to do some outreach with workplaces to try to provide charging at a lot of workplaces, because you're parked there for 8 hours. You can wait. If you ever, right now, if you're like me, your workplace is your home, so it's easy. But assuming we all get back to normal at some point, we want to have the ability for people to charge at work so they can recapture those miles that they used on their way in for their commute, be charged up and ready to go on their way home. And then finally, that is the public network. That's that map I just showed you. And so that is, again, for days you got a lot of driving to do, or road trips and those types of scenarios. Megan, can you go, or Sarah, can you go to the next one? So I just want to give you guys a couple of quick resources. I still hear from people all the time. I have no idea what electric cars are. I never see any in Tulsa, but there are a lot, and there are actually a lot in Tulsa. I see, 5 to 10 a day on the days when I'm actually out and about. And so this is a great resource, Plug in America. They can, you can look at all the different options. You can see what dealerships are certified to sell electric vehicles. Enter your zip code and you'll get a list of everything in Tulsa, or if you're outside of Tulsa, it's a nationwide website. So just, it's a fantastic resource, highly encourage it. And I think Megan's gonna put that link in the chat. Right, next slide. If used cars are your thing, most used car sites now you can filter by fuel type. So you can filter by electric or plug-in hybrid or hybrid. So I just did this last night on Carvana and found there's over 500 electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles there on the site for Carvana. But you can do the same with Auto Trader. You can filter locally. Even Craigslist, you can look for electric cars. So there's a ton of options out there if you're curious about electric cars. One thing about used EVs, they are fantastic. I own one. I bought a used one a couple months ago, and it's a great in-town car. So just really consider what you need the car for, whether you're wanting it for road trips or whether you're wanting it just for in-town as a commuter car. But you can get some great deals on used electric cars. So highly encourage you to check that out. Next slide. This is another great resource, fueleconomy.gov. You can compare cars side by side. So you can look at your current vehicle, you can enter current gas rates, gas prices, you can enter your electricity rates, and you can look at a bunch of different makes and models of different years of cars and kind of see what your cost comparison would be in terms of your gas versus electricity use and cost and all of that. Next slide. Then it also gives you your environmental impacts of each one of the cars as well. So it's a fantastic resource. So fueleconomy.gov is another resource Sarah will put in the chat. A great one as well. Then I want to plug PSO again. They have a great resource on their site as well. They answer a lot of questions about electric cars. They have a rebate on chargers. So you can get a $250 rebate on if you purchase a certain type of electric vehicle charger. And also, to just circle back to the wind choice announcement, when you pair wind choice with an electric car, all of a sudden you have pretty carbon-free transportation choices. So a lot of people think, oh, they got to get solar on their house if they want, to be really super extra green with an electric car. But really, just click that button on the PSO website, switch to wind choice. That's the easiest way to do it. So wind choice and electric cars are a great combination. So next slide. Okay, so that's just a super quick overview of electric cars. Eric's going to get a little bit more, he'll talk a little bit more about electric cars in his presentation. But before we move on to the rest of the presentation, quick poll, true or false, buying an electric car is the best way to decrease my transportation carbon footprint. So let's see what everybody thinks. I'll give you a few seconds.
About 71% there. 10 seconds. All right.
All right, good. You guys know what you're talking about for the most part. The correct answer is false. It is not the best way. The best way to reduce your carbon footprint is to do what Jane and Katie are going to talk to you about, and use your bike more, and active transportation, and walk, and all of these things are the best way. Electric cars are a great improvement, but they're not a silver bullet to climate issues or to many of the other issues that face cities and states and countries as we move forward. Active transportation is so important, and I'm so excited that Jane and Katie are here to talk about that as well. So with that, I'll pass it on. Is Jane next? I think Jane is next.
Thanks, Adrian. Great segue. I'm very impressed by that. So yeah, Jane Ziegler, Adrian said I'm the transportation planner, one of the transportation planners at INCOG. On the screen there is my contact info. And I'd like to start out with another poll. Hope to not pull you guys out, but if you could please answer this, what type of transportation method do you use the most? And I would just say most frequently, and I would say within the past 3 months during COVID, because obviously it would be different if we talked before pre-COVID, but this is our reality right now. So you just want to fill that out.
We'll give you 15 more seconds. Okay.
Okay, so looks like single occupancy vehicle, walking, and biking are the top. All right, so we'll come back to that later. So thanks, Megan. Sarah, next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you today about 918 trails. If you guys have been on river parks, you'll see that they've started putting up these banners. This trail is your trail. And I'll also talk to you about the Go Plan. Next slide, please. So our region has over 100 miles of multi-use trail. The problem, INCOG saw that there was a problem, not with the mileage of trail, but the problem is that our trails are perceived as disconnected. Kudos to those out there who actually know where these photos have been taken, or the location of these photos. You can give yourself a pat on the back. It means you're actually on those trails a lot. Co-workers at INCOG, I've asked them if they realize INCOG had 3 trailheads within a half a mile from where we work. I would probably say 95% of the people did not realize that. And so INCOG felt like there needed to be a consistent message, consistent signing, consistent logo. And the key is we had to coordinate this idea and plan with multiple jurisdictions because we are regional. And there's multiple jurisdictions that take and maintain the trail system. So next slide, please. Thank you. In the summer of 2019, INCOG contracted with Merge Environmental Design. We sent out RFP. Anyways, they were the ones that were chosen. Great to work with. They came to Tulsa a couple times. We had input from 30 different regional stakeholders, over 50 individuals. We had 2 public meetings. And what you see there in the presentation, those are examples of a branding charrette. There are a whole bunch of other different posters like that around a room. And it asked questions like, for example, if our trail system were a car, what kind of car would it be? As you can see there, most people, green means you liked it. Most people chose looked like maybe a Prius and looks like a Subaru. People did not think it was some big like monster ORV type vehicle. Also, if it were celebrity, what would it be? People really didn't like Kim Kardashian. They didn't think that was represented our trail system. So it was a lot of fun things. And that took the merge. They took all of the public input back with them. And next slide, please. So what was agreed upon, we also had a steering committee, and there are about 10 different names and logos that they came up with everyone's input. And of those 10, there were many different variations of those. So all in all, there were probably about 40 different options. So there was lots of feedback, lots of public input. Ultimately, there was already equity in 918. And so it's the name that people gravitated towards. This trail is your trail. That's a play off of Woody Guthrie, This Land is Your Land. And we really wanted to make sure that this was a regional brand and not just Tulsa centric. Megan, I sent you, could you, on the previous slide, there was a link on that there's that Facebook link. Down fun. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to post it. It's just,
Yes, I see it. I don't have a way of copying that, but I can.
Yeah, if you want to put that in the chat. Right now, we have a contract with Resolute PR. They're doing a 2-month Google ad, YouTube ad to get that name out, 918 Trails. So this is brand new as of like 2 months ago. And so River Parks, they're the first ones that have started to implement this brand. Question that we've had is, does this brand take the place of River Parks or Liberty Trail, Osage Trail? Absolutely not. 918 Trails is the umbrella, and underneath that umbrella are all the different types of trail systems. So, yeah, next slide, please. What we also have as well is a brand and wayfinding signage guidelines. And as I mentioned, we needed uniform signage guidelines. So that way, when you are on, let's say up in Skytook on Osage Prairie Trail, and you're coming, let's say, towards Tulsa, if you see that 918 Trails or logo, maybe every couple miles, you'll feel like you are somewhere, like you're not lost. If you remember those photos I showed before, there were some trails where you just had no clue where they went. You didn't even know the names of them. And so NCOG shared this guidelines with all of our municipalities and organizations that maintain the trail system. Also on NCOG's website, on that link that's at the bottom of that slide, that's where you can find this manual for signage. It's also where you can find the links for the brand that is open source. So anyways, next slide, please. This is just an excerpt out of the manual. These materials are materials that the steering committee felt matched with our regional trails. These are examples of what signage could look like once implemented. So actually, yeah, so now that we have that regional trail logo for existing trails, you may want to know, like, how is it decided where past trails were? Like, how is it decided that the Osage Prairie Trail or the Mingo Valley Trail are in those specific locations, and where will future trails possibly be? So that's kind of where we have the Go plan, as you see here. It's the Regional Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. This plan happens to be under NCOG's umbrella. And so as you see here, let's see, it was adopted in 2015 by NCOG's Board of Directors. On the screen, those are the 11 communities that are involved with the GO plan. So bike and ped infrastructure, it does need to be planned just like all other infrastructure for transportation. So as I said, this is at the Metropolitan Planning Organization level, which is NCOG. Next slide, please. As you see here, there are 6 goals for the GO plan and a vision. You guys can read those. Next slide, please. Okay, this is where that poll came in. So according to the 2010 census, the percentage of residents use the following modes for their commute to work. And this is within the Tulsa metropolitan statistical area. So as you can see, this actually matches a little bit of the poll that you guys just completed. So single occupancy vehicle is about 80%, followed by walking, and then transit, or excuse me, followed by carpool, then walking, transit, and bike. Due to COVID, I know in larger cities that have big traffic congestion, a lot of people have opted to ride bikes instead of public transit, so cities that rely a lot more on public transportation. So at NCOG, we're working with our partners to decrease single occupancy vehicles and increase other forms of vehicles. So what you see on the screen here, these are examples of implementation of the GO plan. These pictures, the top left, that is from Collinsville. Their new sidewalks, their ADA tactile ramps. Below that is a new multi-use trail in Sand Springs. And then over on the right, those 2 pictures are from City of Tulsa. Those are examples of complete streets. So complete street means that every single transportation, there's room on the road for every single type of transportation. Next slide, please. So a question I often get is, when will the trail that's on the GO plan, when will it be implemented in my neighborhood? The answer is funding and priority. For City of Tulsa, most funding comes from voter-approved tax packages, as you can see there on the slide. Broken Arrow voters, they approved a tax package that included funding for transportation. For Broken Arrow, there isn't a specific line item for GO plan implementation, but BA, they're a supporter of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. So they'll implement it within that tax package. And regarding priorities, the GO plan does have a list of priorities which were decided by public input as well as cities input. However, I will tell you, just this past summer, the City of Tulsa Planning Department, in partnership with NCOG Transportation, we decided the City of Tulsa needs to change the way it prioritizes projects. It really was heavily weighted towards public input, which, you know, you're thinking, hey, that's really awesome. But if you think about it, who are the people that actually can give and have the know-how to give public input? It's the people that know about the GO plan. It's the people that know about how the funding source works. It's the people that know who to contact. And it's people that can attend public meetings at 6 p.m. on a school night. And it's people that have all of the above. Now, Adrian, I know you have 2 kids, you and your husband both work full-time jobs. Are you really, like, on a Wednesday night thinking, oh, I really need to go to that public meeting? Probably not. So it's really a squeaky wheels. So we decided, we in COG and City of Tulsa decided it's the people who aren't at the table that are the ones with the least amount of resources. And those are the people that you see riding their bikes to Taco Bell, to Kentucky Fried Chicken, to work. And those are the people that we are really wanting to provide safe streets for. So City of Tulsa has created a strategic planning model that uses data points to make implementation priorities more equitable. So some of those data points include household income, vehicle ownership, location of schools, and age. So next slide, please. The next question I often get is, can the GO plan be changed? A great aspect of the GO plan is that it is organic. NCOG, by request from each of those 11 cities, can make an amendment to the GO plan, and that occurs once a year. So, next slide. Oh, I think that's it, actually. So that's all that I have. Megan, I believe I sent you 2 links this week. One is a sidewalk gap map link, and then one for the bicycle facilities map. So if you could put those in the chat for people.
I did, and they're, ooh, sorry, they're in there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, up next we have Eric.
Great. Thank you so much to Sustainable Tulsa and for Adrian for the invite. And I've been out of Tulsa for about 5 years. I moved down here, down the Turnpike, but definitely miss it up there. But and really proud of the work that Sustainable Tulsa has done in the last 5 years since I was a board member, especially the scorecard program and the work that staff's done on that. And I just think that the transportation section is definitely by far the best section from all the work that's been done on that. So, and it's good to see some familiar faces, and Matt and Heather and Secretary Teague and Councilor Kara Joy McKee, who I've been working on sustainability stuff on for at least since 2006 or so. So go back to our days in Norman. So my job today is just kind of provide a perspective from down the Turnpike on what sustainable transportation means in central Oklahoma. And I'll just echo quickly a couple of things that were said of a focus on transportation alternatives, whether it's transit or bike ped, and really from a sustainability perspective, from efficiency and an environmental perspective, using those ways are really, from a sustainable transportation perspective, what we need to focus on. I'll get here a little bit later on to talking about electric vehicles, but as Adrian had in her poll and Jane talked about, driving electric vehicle isn't the only answer to this, and we need to focus on those transportation alternatives. I would also want to say, in talking about sustainable transportation, this is something Adrian and I talk about a lot, is the solutions to our transportation issues have to first serve the underserved and marginalized communities that we serve from a transportation agency perspective. And so as we looked at things like autonomous vehicles or electric vehicles, they're really not sustainable solutions unless they're serving those communities, which so definitely want to frame the conversation in those 2 ways. So from Central Oklahoma's perspective, we talk a lot about the physical connection between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and we could talk, there could be a whole First Thursday topic about rail from Tulsa to Oklahoma City, which we've been talking about for a long time. But it's definitely a priority here in Central Oklahoma. We have the Heartland Flyer that runs from Oklahoma City to Dallas. I want to continue that service and look towards both an expansion to Tulsa and a northern expansion too. But don't want to spend a lot of time on that. In Central Oklahoma specifically, we've had 6 members of our ACOG members that have joined to form a regional transportation authority, or an RTA. And one of the long-term goals of that is a light rail system that would run from Edmond to Norman and a east-west line Primarily that would be in that east-west line, really looking at the Tinker Air Force Base and the employee base that we have there, with 40,000 so cars going through the gates of Tinker every day. That's a big opportunity for transit there. So, you know, it's funny how with light rail, you know, Central Oklahoma had the interurban system back in the turn of the 20th century. And with the onset of the automobile and the highway system, that's gone away, but we're kind of coming full circle back to light rail. But it's really about congestion mitigation and looking at our environmental goals and transportation efficiency in our system, and hearing from ODOT that you know, any widening of I-35 between Oklahoma City and Norman, for example, is pretty much out of the picture. And so we're going to have to find alternatives as our population continues to grow when we look at our transportation system. You know, one of the things that Tulsa beat Oklahoma City to is a bus rapid transit system. And Oklahoma City is currently working on a bus rapid transit system line that would run from the downtown area up Classen to Northwest Expressway. And that's a project that's currently in the works and should be coming online in the next few years through Embark, our transit provider. So give a point to Tulsa on that one. I do want to mention the streetcar that hopefully many of you have, when you've come down to Oklahoma City, have jumped on the streetcar. You know, in talking about the streetcar, you're really looking at you know, reducing the amount of car trips taken in the downtown area. And as transportation planners, we try to quantify what that reduction in car trips looks like. It's a difficult task. But you can be fairly confident to say that the streetcar is reducing some of those car trips, in addition to some of our other strategies about increasing bike ped and the Spokies program. So got to mention the streetcar there too, and I guess give a point to Oklahoma City on that one. And I just want to briefly mention, you know, Katie will talk about e-bikes here in a minute, so I won't talk about that, but just the amount of you know, small mobility solutions that are emerging, and just the street, the types of vehicles we see in the street are really going to change in a lot of ways. As when we talk about electrified options, there's a cool company called Bison Super Bikes here in Oklahoma City, for example, that makes a throttle mini motorbike type of thing that only goes 25 miles per hour. There's a guy in my neighborhood that commutes via battery powered skateboard. And so some of those things, it will be cool to watch as those emerge moving forward. So I want to shift from that to covering some electric vehicle stuff. And if you want to go to the slide, or we can do the poll really quick. So that poll is up if you want to do that really quick. So are you considering buying and leasing an electric vehicle as your next vehicle? Give a second on that. And while you're doing that, we've got pulled up the AFDC station locator that Adrian mentioned, but just want to highlight again that growing network. So do we have that poll result? Cool. All right, great. Okay, so I just want to highlight a couple things, build off what Adrian spoke to on electric vehicles. Oklahoma is really in a unique position right now. And you as a consumer, if you do drive a car, the opportunity, I just want to highlight some of the strong benefits of driving electric right now in Oklahoma. So we mentioned the charging network and how we're now number 1 in the country in that. And that's due in large part to a Tulsa company, Francis Energy, that has worked to build out that network. I do want to mention that the state has invested both from the Volkswagen settlement funding that we've gotten, that you may be familiar with, the VW cheating scandal and some funds that came to Oklahoma from that. Secretary Teague was involved in, and some tax credits that have been utilized to build out that network too. So we as a state have invested in the charging network, and something to be very proud of. And then also just mention, if you want to go to the next slide, we have one of the emerging cleanest energy grids in the country. And with EVs in particular, we got a unique situation where, if you're an EV owner, you're mostly charging overnight. And that coincides with when the wind blows and when the most wind power is on the grid. So the wind blows mostly in the evening hours. And it's a great opportunity for PSO and our other utility partners to have demand for renewable electricity in a time they don't typically have a lot of demand for electricity. So you see that regardless of what oil or petroleum, ICE, gasoline vehicle you drive, no matter where you are in the country, it's going to be more environmentally beneficial to drive an electric vehicle. So we're part of that SPSO or SPP grid right there. Really in Oklahoma, though, we're going to be even much higher than that, especially if you're charging, like I said, in those wind power times. And, as a PSO customer, as an OG&E customer, we have very good electricity rates here. And so in OG&E, for example, you have your Smart Hours program where you're also charging overnight. You're paying less electricity. So there's a lot of opportunities to save money on your transportation cost as an EV driver. So Adrian talked about, some of the ways to look at buying an electric vehicle. Definitely would encourage to look at the used market, and definitely use Adrian or myself as resources if you're looking at electric vehicle purchasing anytime in the near future. And with that, I'll turn it over to Katie.
Thank you, Eric.
Hi everyone, Katie Sawicki here. I'm the executive director at This Machine Tulsa Bike Share. I am outside currently, and I apologize if my neighbor's dog is loud. Welcome, This Machine. We are a nonprofit in Tulsa. If we could go to the next slide. Our mission is to transform the Tulsa community, providing a high quality, convenient, and affordable bicycle transit system that connects people to places where they live, work, and play. We have been around for a little while now. We just received our 501c3 designation earlier this year. And if we can go to the next slide, you can just see some fun photos since COVID of people riding our bikes. So we launched these new electric bikes in June, which wasn't really the intention. We were hoping to launch them a little bit earlier, but then obviously how everything goes. But it's been really excellent, even though we haven't been able to have any events. People are utilizing the bikes. It's very exciting. Like I said, we launched June 8th. So in 60 days, we've had over 4,000 riders. Next slide, please. Awesome. So these are our goals. Though we are only a 501c3 for the last couple of months, we have been at this game for quite a while. So in 2015, that was when the idea of launching a bike share first came about as a public-private partnership. Our goals are to create system-oriented to small, short point A to point B trips, to help attract talented workforce and, of course, economic development. So with all of that, Bike Share was born in 2015 as an idea. And then in 2018, we launched a fleet of 150 pedal bikes. So since then, we've converted our fleet as of June this year to 150 electric pedal assist bikes. And then we'll be adding another 70 to our fleet, hopefully in about 1 month's time. So we'll have 220 electric bikes. With that, we will be expanding our service area. If we could go to the next slide. Yeah, so you can see the green is where we first launched our electric or our pedal bikes. Then over the last year, we've expanded to the yellow, and we are currently in the we're a little bit ahead of schedule to expand into the orange. So our goal is to, do little by little. We're a small team, but also to make cycling more convenient. So if it is in your area, you're going to be more likely to ride it. But something to keep in mind is you don't have to be perfect in order to ride a bike. You know, there's the different polls that we've had of, you know, should you get an electric car? You know, should you ride a bike? Every time I go to an event or a meeting in the past, it would always be like downpouring or something. And someone would ask me like, hey, did you ride a bike here today? Kind of as a joke. And no, I didn't. It was downpouring. But you don't have to. You can choose to ride a bike one day a week and you're still making a huge impact. And that's where Tulsa Bike Share comes into play. Like I said, we had 4,000 riders in the last 2 months. These people probably have never ridden a bike before, or you know, haven't done it since they were a child, and now they're riding a bike and they're feeling comfortable. They're trying out the trails. They're trying out the bike lanes. There's less cars around right now, so they're feeling comfortable with that. And if they feel comfortable riding a bike, if we can make it convenient for them by having stations near them, we make it inexpensive that they only have to, you know, rent a bike today and they don't have to go buy $1,000 electric bike, a $10,000 electric bike. Then we can just help with the sustainability efforts there. So, oh yes, the poll, excellent. We'll wait on those results for just a moment, but we'll go on to our next slide. So it's really easy to use our app. Our bikes, like I said, you saw the map, are located in that area. You can also see the map on our app. Some of our really popular stations are downtown or along the river, and then we have some downtown that are getting lots of usage right now. All you do is you download the This Machine app on your phone. You rent the bike with the QR code, you ride it, and then you return it to a bike rack. You can return it to our bike racks or, you know, another bike rack downtown or, you know, within the service area, and then you end your trip. So these signs are also in Spanish along the river and at our different bike rental locations downtown. There's not a sign at every location, only the bigger ones. But like I said, you can rent our bikes anywhere using the app. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see what it actually looks like. Oh, awesome. So it looks like 42% of you all have rented a This Machine bike or tried an electric pedal assist bike. So excellent. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you have not tried yet, it's really easy. So I told you that the little sign there. You can also look at these pictures here. So you download the app, the This Machine pink app. You can see it on my phone screen there. It'll tell you, you know, do you want to do a minute by minute or do you want to buy a pass? Right now we have month memberships. So for $20 for the month, you can ride 60 minutes a day, just $20. And so, like I said, we're trying to make it very economical for people. And then the next image over to the right is our station map. So you can see where the bikes are all the time. So you don't have to think like, oh, well, I'd like to ride a bike, but I don't know if there is one available. You can see on the map on your phone that there is a bike, you know, where's the nearest bikes and how many are there. And then you just scan the QR code and unlock the bike and go for a ride. If you've already bought a membership, then you just, you know, you would use that membership or you would pay 15 cents per minute. So really nice and convenient and easy. Next slide, please. Yeah, so sometimes I hear, oh, well, electric bikes are cheating. And I want everyone to know that that is false. Electric bikes really make it so that people who were, you know, thinking maybe I would try riding a bike if I didn't have to go up that hill. Me, for example, I live in Midtown. So, you know, riding into work, it's downhill the entire way, easy. Riding back, there's a lot of hills. I might not do that. But, you know, with the electric bike option, it makes it a little bit easier to think about doing that. You don't get as sweaty when you're riding. You still get the same, pretty close to the same health benefits, about 90%, but you don't have to worry about all the extra effort of, you know, I'm wearing my backpack and I don't want to get sweaty and I have to go up this hill and down that hill. It makes it so it's actually something that you might consider doing. Riding for 6 miles feels like riding for 3 miles. So you could actually do the rest of your day at work as opposed to just thinking about, well, I could ride my bike, but then I'd fall asleep by 3 o'clock. So just different things to think about. If it gets people out and riding, it's an improvement. We think of it as kind of like a gateway. We are definitely in communication with the bike shops around town, and we're not seen as competition. We're all in this together because our riders might be novice riders, but then and they ride with us for a little bit, and then they might upgrade to a special fancy bike from the bike shops. So we're all in this together, and you don't have to be perfect to ride a bike. Just try it, see if you like it. Maybe add it 1 day a week, and then before you know it, you might be doing it every day a week. Next slide. So since COVID-19, like I said, we launched our new bikes, but we are also sanitizing our bikes regularly in addition to our servicing them regularly. So we are out with our hands on the bikes every day or every other day, depending on if it's a low ride station. And people are out and riding our bikes. I've heard that the trail system is 50% higher. I mean, anybody who goes down to the river can see all the people down there, people riding bikes. So that's exciting. They're looking for something to do, a safe social distance option. And then also all of the great new bike lanes really make cycling easier for novice riders. They feel safer, there's less cars out, so people are willing to try it, get comfortable on a bike, and then we hope that they'll continue that once all of this is over and maybe when we go back to the office. So yeah, thank you so much. Lastly, I will point you to our social media. We have different little mini events that we're doing or video rides so that you can explore Tulsa on your own or with a family member, social distance conscious, while also finding something else to do. You might have explored this one trail, but we put together a video of different murals to go and see, and it's a little 5-mile ride, very easy. So you can check that out on our social media or on our YouTube. Also, if you are not a very technical savvy person and you'd like to try this machine, but you don't really know how to do that with apps, we have a YouTube video that's linked as well that will show you how to do that step by step. We also have our staff out changing batteries throughout the day. You might see them at one of the stations. Just ask or give us a call or send us an email, and we will walk you through it.
Thank you so much, Katie. Adrian, I know we're about 1 minute till 1, so if you guys can hang tight for just a few more minutes, we're gonna ask a couple of questions, and then we'll wrap up the event and announce our giveaway winner. Adrian?
Thanks, everyone. We've got a couple good questions that have come through. I'm going to start with the one that I like the best, but they're all good questions. This is for any of you on the panel. Feel free to chime in. How do you think COVID-19 and the pandemic will affect transportation in Tulsa and beyond in the long run? What trends are you seeing that you think will be impacted by the pandemic?
I can go first. When at INCOG, when we look at our travel modeling, as far as origin and destination travel modeling, obviously there's a heck of a lot more people working from home, and who knows when we'll stop working from home indefinitely. So that's going to change the way we look at travel patterns, I mean, in general.
Yeah, well, and like I said during my chat, our ridership has never been higher. I mean, it's almost 100 degrees outside, and we're having cyclists every day. People are looking for something to do, and maybe they'll enjoy it, and we hope that they will continue using, cycling in the future. And I think without this, there might not have been that urgency to try it. We would have just continued doing our regular day lives. And I think this has put us just a little bit out of our comfort zone, a lot out of our comfort zone. And some of that I think will, go back to maybe what it was. But I think, the different experiences we've had during this will probably stay with us for a little while.
Yeah, I'll just echo, I think Jane mentioned this, but, I talked about in transit, just the efficiency of moving a lot of people And this is a time where you cannot have a lot of people together. And there's, there's just heartbreaking things that are happening where you can't have a certain number of people on a bus, and, people are trying to get to work. And so I don't have any, good news, unfortunately, on this, but we do need to highlight those stories as they're emerging in this pandemic.
I agree. I think transit is something we all need to be paying attention to. I think there was a kind of a move before that, kind of a shift in people thinking, oh, we just take Uber or Lyft or whatever. And that's fine for certain segments of the population, but not everybody has that. And not everywhere is profitable for Uber and Lyft to serve. And so I think it's really, really important that all of us as citizens and voters and engaged folks really recognize the importance of transit to a lot of folks, and also active transportation, like we've been talking about. I think active transportation is doing well in the pandemic, but public transit is one I worry about. And if you are worried about the collective good, I would encourage you to pay attention to what's going on with transit. Next question. Let's see. This one's for Eric. What are the tax benefits of buying an electric car?
So there are federal tax incentives for certain vehicles. So each make and model have a limit to how many federal tax credits there are. But it's definitely something to look at if you're purchasing a new electric vehicle. And again, something that Adrian and I are happy to help with. So it's a $7,500 tax credit, and definitely something to look at as the two candidates in the presidential election talk about the future of transportation. This is an issue that will definitely come up.
Councilor McKee just put a comment in the chat that it's important, so I want to read it out. Tulsa Transit's mask policy is that masks are required with the exception of a medical condition of the driver or if there are no passengers on board. Some drivers have removed them after passengers have been seated. They also take temperature of drivers when they report for duty, as well as make hand sanitizer and gloves available. They provide plastic face shields and are investigating installing shields around the drivers for additional protective measures. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that Tulsa Transit is absolutely paying attention to this and trying to keep everyone's health and safety in the forefront while still providing a quality service to make sure people can get around. So thanks, Counselor. And let's see, Megan, do we have time for one more, or do we need to wrap it up?
Let's do one more, guys. Hang tight for 2 more minutes and we'll wrap it up. These are great questions. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go with this one for on bike lanes for Jane or Katie, probably Jane. I live near an area where bike lanes have been recently installed along 11th Street, and I still notice many people using the sidewalks rather than the bike lanes. What is being done or can be done to promote use of bike lanes rather than people biking on sidewalks?
Yeah, so you're actually bringing up social norms. And I'll just say, for example, smoking. Smoking in the 60s, it was awesome. It was popular. It was great. It was healthy. But now we're here in 2020 and we still have people that smoke. It's taken millions of dollars of PSAs, lots of effort on public health officials, government to change social norms. So kind of what we're looking at right now is to change social norms of the car culture. Gonna take a while.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But we're working on it.
Yes. Okay, we're officially 5 minutes over, so I'm going to go ahead and end this, but I will say we are going to be sending out an email tomorrow to everyone that registered for the event. And so the email will contain today's recording, as well as any links or resources that I've shared in the chat group or that have been shared on these on the slide deck. So, and then we'll also, if there's any other questions, we'll make sure we post their contact information so you can reach out to our presenters. Thank you, presenters. You are a wealth of information. This was a really engaging first Thursday today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a giveaway. We have a pair of tickets to Recharge, and the winner is Larry Mitchell. Larry, congrats. You've got 2 tickets to recharge. So I will be emailing you. It'll probably be tomorrow, but I'll email you tomorrow with all of that information. I want to thank again our sponsors. We have American Waste Control, Covanta, Grog's Green Barn, The Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Aerosystems, TCC's McKeon Center for Creativity, PSO, and PSO Wind Choice. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again at our next First Thursday. It's on September 3rd, and we'll be joined by Ann Money from the Oklahoma Aquarium. Thank you again for coming today. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day.